Welcome to Sports on Tap, part of the NEO Sports Insiders Network, presented by RRT Productions from Studio J in Brunswick, Ohio.
Booyah!
I'm Rob Troutman. We have Josh Jeffy, Sean Duffy, Ed Dick here with me. And, guys, we'll get right into the recap of the Buckeye Bucks. And this is a team that has been impressive and dominant so far this year. And also want to remind everybody, they'll be up at Z's Cream and Bean next Monday as head coach Pinzoni will be up there along with some possible players. So come up to Z's Cream and Bean in Hinckley, 2706 Boston Road, and visit with us up there. Now let's go to Buckeye. And they were at Keystone versus the Wildcats in the overall series. Buckeye leads this series 33-6, and one tie was in there. And Buckeye got off to a quick start as Nate Polidori, who has been impressive all year, had a pass to Trevor Tomey on a 3-yard touchdown pass. Richard Gatt hits the extra point. It was 7-0 Bucks. Then Buckeye comes right back, 53 yards on 7 plays, capping it with a 1-yard touchdown run again by Tomey. And it was the Bucks 14-0. This still in the first quarter. Then the Bucks get a pick, and they went 34 seconds to go 37 yards to make it 21-0 on a 24-yard touchdown. Polidori to Tomey again, and that was for a first hat trick for Trevor and an impressive start for the Buckeye Bucks. Then Nate Polidori runs in from 25 yards out. Gatt makes the extra point. It's the Bucks 28-0 over Keystone. This with 3:19 left still in the half. Buckeye would score one more before half. It was 35-0 at half, and Buckeye would win big, 41-0. They go to 9-0 on the year, and the Bucks will finish their year against Brookside next week. And listen to some of these stats on the year for some records to be broken. Nate Polidori, with his 4 touchdown passes, takes over first place all-time with 31. The previous holder was Dan Sarashevsko in 2002, 2003 with 30. And then Trevor Tomey's 3 touchdown catches in this game tie a school record of 10 in a season with James Farley. He trails Farley in career touchdown catches 17-15. And the Bucks, 396 points in 9 games is a 44-point-per-game average. A record in Medina County is 68 with the Wadsworth Grizzlies at 42.2 points. And they have scored, and that's also a school record, actually, for Buckeye. And congratulations to Coach Pinzoni on his 23rd win, tying Coach Chris Medaglia for most wins in his first 3 seasons as head coach. So Coach Pinzoni, he'll join our show coming up on Monday. But Buckeye with a 41-0 win against Keystone. They're undefeated at 9-0, and what a season for Buckeye so far. So congratulations to them and, the team, the coaches, and their fans. I mean, what a great year so far. And let's give thanks to Dave Ray. He, every week, has been shooting us statistics and these records, BuckeyeBucksFootball.com. They just provide all kinds of great information that we get there. So I want to thank him for sending those over.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd straight conference championship for Buckeye. I mean, that's fantastic. And, Trevor Tomey, he's the 11th player in Medina County history to eclipse 300 points. I mean, that just goes to show how potent this offense really is. And their defense isn't anything to shake about either. I mean, another shutout. That just same old story for them. And they do have a pretty good matchup against Sheffield Brookside next week. Brookside's 6-3.
Yeah, it's no pushover. It's no pushover game.
And that's the type of game that Buckeye kind of needs right now to push them over the edge. Right now they're sitting at number 5 in Division III, Region 7, where they would travel to Louisville. And Louisville,
they are tough.
They're down from where I used to go to college at, and they were a very, very solid team. As far as last time I remember seeing them, they like to go 5 wide and sling it around the field. So this could be I have a feeling it's going to end up being that game anyways. It's just a matter of whether it's going to be at Edwin Steingast Field in York Township on Route 252, or if it's going to be down in Louisville, where the Leopards reside. And either way, that's going to be a fantastic game.
Well, and you brought up a good point. I mean, let's give credit to Buckeye's defense, too. I mean, holding Keystone to a shutout. And most of the year, this Buckeye defense hasn't given up many points at all in any of these games. They've been dominant all year. So offensively and defensively, give credit to the Buckeye Bucks doing it well for Coach Pinzoni, and they're listening and buying in, and just a great overall year, something to be proud of.
Yeah, I mean, they've only given up 27 points actually in the last 7 games.
Wow.
So and
It's
in
their third shutout.
Yeah, in that span, there's 3 shutouts, and then the other 4 games they only gave up 7, then 6, then 7, then 7. So, and then their points 4 are out of control. Yeah, they're averaging well over 40 points a game all season for that matter.
Yep.
So good for them.
Yeah.
All right, now Ed has a recap of Week 9 for the Massillon Tigers, Ed.
Indeed, and I'll tell you what, this was a tough matchup for Massillon. They were going up against state-ranked Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. They were very, very good in their own right. They were coming into this game 8-1. Their only loss coming to Akron Hoban, and these are teams. It's funny we just talked about Buckeye because these are teams that Buckeye will most likely end up playing in the second round if they get that far. Either St. Vincent St. Mary or Hoban. But in this game, St. Vincent St. Mary never trailed. They were able to stay ahead of Massillon for the entire game. Miles Williams had a 17-yard touchdown pass from Dominic Davis to start the scoring. Marcus Hurd with a 28-yard touchdown run pushes the lead to 14-0. Lee Hurst the second, a 50-yard touchdown pass from
Not
Seth.
the third, just the second.
Not the third, just the second. Let me make sure I
Well, let's give credit to Lee Hurst. He tweeted us. I want to thank him for listening. He said we rock, and he enjoys the show and appreciates what we do. So we're going to get it right for you, and we appreciate you listening.
We're actually just foreshadowing because if he has a son, probably play for Massillon,
right,
and he'll be Lee Hurst the third and scoring touchdowns.
Exactly. We got this figured out for the next 20 years.
Yeah,
right. Seth Blankenship connected with Hurst the second, 50-yard pass, cuts the lead to 14-7. Clay Mole hits from 28 yards out, 14-10, and that's about as close as it got. Marcus Hurd scored again, his second touchdown run of the night for St. Vincent St. Mary, a 9-yard run, 21-10. And then Lee Hurst the second, another touchdown reception from Seth Blankenship. And then St. Vincent St. Mary just kind of took over from there. Dominic Davis was a one-man wrecking crew. He ran for a touchdown, threw for 2 more in that span. Keyshawn Watson for Massillon put up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, brings it to 42-31, and then Dominic Davis and Marcus Hurd each ran for another touchdown. 56-31. The Fighting Irish take out the Massillon Tigers, and this is just it's tough sledding for Coach Hunick, knowing that you have to put points on the board every single time that you're on the field. It's rough, and Seth Blankenship did throw 2 interceptions. They were not able to turn over St. Vincent St. Mary over the course of the game, and that's always tough when you're giving a team like St. Vincent St. Mary extra possessions. So with the loss, Massillon falls to 4-5. They are now 10th in Division II, Region 5. They do have a pretty good they have a very excellent matchup going on with Canton McKinley. This is one of the best rivalries in the state, guys. Canton McKinley versus Massillon.
Yeah, that should be a great one.
It's the rivalry, the public school rivalry of our area.
So what you're saying is throw the records out the window.
You can absolutely throw the records out.
This is blood.
This is blood. I mean, this is the type of game that you want to be in if you're growing up in Massillon or Canton there. Dominic Davis for St. Vincent St. Mary. He had 300 yards of total offense and 5 touchdowns.
Wow.
Seth Blankenship 302 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks on 28 of 46 passing. Lee Hurst II, 11 catches, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wow. And Keyshawn Watson, 20 carries for 135 yards and 2 touchdowns. So it's not for lack of offense on the Tigers' end. Defensively, they've got to clean a couple of things up, and they're going to need to do that before they take on Canton McKinley, and we'll see what happens in Week 10.
Yeah,
Why are you guys freaked out by that? It's a text message.
Oh, we didn't know what it was.
I actually thought
it was the guinea pig back here doing that.
I shouldn't even say anything.
And you know what?
I should have let this go for a while.
You know what the funny part is? When that happened, he was looking right at us like that.
Yeah. Like he needed to
like
get
he's
Rob's
doing
attention.
right now. But
it's freaking me out.
a great job by St. V. I mean, St. Vincent St. Mary just they really were dominant in this game. You follow the game, and Massillon's offense couldn't get on track, and finally when they did, it was a little too late. But again, Massillon's offense puts up some decent points, and they can't pull it out. But St. Vincent St. Mary, like you said, 8-1 on the year, so tough loss for Massillon, but they have a 4-5 record and hope to, like you said, Canton McKinley. That's always a great game, and I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be crazy for that game. So hopefully they can bounce back. All right, guys. Now it's week 10, and we'll start.
End of the road.
It is for some teams.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
So now let's head to the GCC as Josh will give us some of the matchups this week.
We'll first start off with Medina. They travel to Solon. Medina really started off real good this season, ended on a bad note. Solon needs this win to stay on top of the GCC and well within the playoff rankings there. This is I think it's going to go Solon's way. I think Medina is just kind of in a bad way right now. But, hey, they can play spoiler. Saturday we have Shaker Heights, the Red Raiders, traveling to Euclid. Again, this is a big game for Euclid. They need to win to stay on pace with Mentor and Solon and in the playoff rankings. We'll talk about that here in momentarily about the playoff rankings. This was kind of a candidate for my spotlight game because I think it's a big game not only for Mentor to stay on top of the GCC, but it's a huge game for Elyria. Absolutely huge game. They are sitting 15th right now in Joe Itel's rankings. That's right on the cusp of being eliminated. So I think if they lose this game, they could very well be out depending on what happens below them. Mentor, again, needs this to stay on top. Elyria needs to control the ball. It's been proven this year that Mentor, you're able to run on them. Brunswick did a very good job doing that, and teams before they have done that. So with Chris Atkinson for the Pioneers, I'm expecting him to have a huge game, and I don't think this is going to be an easy one for Mentor. Maybe they're kind of thinking playoffs. Who knows?
They're playing on grass too,
right? And I think Elyria is going to come out and really play hard. This is home. Final home game for them. So this is going to be a good game to watch. But I did give the spotlight game. We mentioned Canton McKinley, Massillon. It's one of the huge public school rivalries. This one,
big time.
This is the biggest one in the Cleveland area in my mind.
Well, a little biased there. I am too. Probably Rob is too. Strongsville at Brunswick. This is the old back in the Pioneer Conference days. This game was to determine the conference championship and the playoffs. It was winner take all. Doesn't have that big of a vibe this year, but I think both teams had showed some promise. So I'm looking for this to be growing as a big game again in the coming years. I'm predicting this game to be a running game. That's what Brunswick does well. They run the ball with Alex Gillespie there and Nick Horton. Zach for Strongsville is also a good running. So this is going to be a solid, old school, run the ball, beat your face kind of game I'm going to be looking forward to. Again, this is a big rivalry game. Strongsville right now is on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs. That loss against Mentor for Brunswick really put a hurting on their playoff hopes. I think their playoffs hopes are dashed, but I still think Brunswick would want nothing more than to keep Strongsville from making the playoffs.
I think they were at 21 the last time I checked.
Well, Rob, we'll get into that.
But
we'll get into that.
Yeah, I think with a win here for Brunswick, they were at 18 last week, and if they would have beaten Mentor, I would have thought they could have sneaked in.
Yeah.
But with a win versus Strongsville and maybe a few teams losing, you just never know. I never say never, but it's really a pretty outside shot.
I mean, I think when you take as we mentioned with Canton and Massillon, throw the records out, throw the playoff out. These teams don't like each other.
Oh yeah, they don't care.
This is the game that's circled on the calendar every year. You got to beat Strongsville, and it's very much like any big rivalry. Your season is determined on these games. Good season, you beat Strongsville. Bad season, you got beat by Strongsville. Doesn't matter the record, you still hold on to that one.
And there's a guy that is on the field for these games.
I know.
Ed Dick is on the field for this rivalry.
He's got the pulse of the team.
Let's ask Ed what the feeling is on the field when these two teams hook up.
Well, I mean, just personally, I mean, and this might be just because how we grew up. I mean, Strongsville has always been our rival, and
right.
You know, there's been because the conference has changed so much, and we've kind of went through some. You know, there's some teams that we've kind of grown a similar hatred for. Most like Mentor, for example, only because they probably keep beating us. But you know, there's nothing like this game. I mean, I'm gonna be jacked up all week for it. And when I'm at work on Friday, I'm just gonna be like jittery like all day, just waiting to get
people
to this.
walk in your office and you're doing push-ups. It's
Just putting head through
1001.
I got headphones on. I got eye black on. I'm gonna, you know,
Welcome to the conference call.
If somebody from Ed's work is listening to this and he actually does this, please take a picture.
He just walks in with a Brunswick helmet on for no reason at all.
Yeah, I'm Fridays. I'm all Brunswick out anyways at work, and it's probably not gonna get any worse. It's gonna get extremely bad on this side, and
he's gonna be like that commercials that are now that your fan needs to can't have your fan here.
Yeah,
remember the little fan?
Oh yeah.
No, that doesn't apply this week. And this week is it's Beat Strongsville week. I mean, I'll be honest with you. 14 years ago was my senior year Strongsville game. 14 years ago to the day that we lost. Still think about it. And
let it go.
No.
Let it go.
No. Yeah, you could say that because you're class 1. So what the hell's
No,
the
we
matter?
did.
Which I was there for, so that was nice. But
yeah, we did.
But it's a whole other monster, and I can't wait for this game on Friday. You know, hopefully take out Strongsville. No offense to our buddy Zach.
Con.
We're gonna.
It's just not the same
Can
without
I
you
ask
doing
a
that.
quick question? How is his name spelled? Is it C-A-A-N?
I'm gonna guess
It's
K-A-H-N.
K-A-H-N.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, that's how you would
That's
think
how
it
they
would be.
spell it. Yeah.
That's how you would think
I didn't
it
know
would
if
be.
he was related to the great James Conn, or perhaps the.
You know
Con.
what? If it was James Conn, I wouldn't like saying
Con. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's not the same.
I'm just asking. That was a question I've had since week 3.
It's a very valid question. We probably should have figured that out earlier in the year.
I should have asked it. I should have asked it 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say it only took 9 weeks. No big
whatever.
deal.
Go Blue.
All right, let's head to the Southwestern Conference for Week 10, and Avon at 8-1 travels to Olmsted Falls at 6-3. Olmsted Falls coming up a tough loss. Avon with a win. That should be a pretty good game. Avon Lake heading to North Olmsted. Avon Lake 3-6. North Olmsted coming off a big win at 5-4. Then Berea Mid-Park 7-2 takes on Westlake at 2-7. Westlake coming off a pretty good win. Berea Mid-Park getting dominated by Avon. Can they bounce back? North Ridgeville 7-2 travels to Midview at 9-0. That's going to be a fun game to watch if DeMario McCall can play in this game. Otherwise, North Ridgeville and some other players are really going to have to step up, and the defense for North Ridgeville is really going to have to contain a very tough Midview offense. And then my spotlight game, the Battle of the Winless. Amherst at 0-9 travels actually to Lakewood at 0-9. Someone's got to win.
Someone's got to give there.
And you know what? I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch. I think both these teams should put up some points. It could be also a low-scoring game. It could go either way with these guys because there are some games that Amherst defense is pretty tough. So that's my spotlight game of the week. Let's give credit to these teams. They've also played very hard this season. Even though they don't have a win, they've played tough, and that's going to be a good game to watch. It's going to be at Lakewood Stadium, so it's going to be fun out there. So get out there and support these teams, and that's the Southwestern Conference. And should be a good Week 10. Now let's head to the Suburban League, the American Division, and Sean Duffy.
All right, we got first game up. We got 8-1 Aurora heading to Talmadge at 2-7. Aurora looking just to keep pace, take care of business, and maintain that number 1 ranking in the division. Our next game we have the 3-6 Revere heading to 6-3 Barberton. Again, Barberton's playing maybe for an outside shot at the playoffs. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. Again, they're in that situation where lots got to happen for them to kind of make that jump into the playoffs. Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. They're mathematically eliminated, as my cohort told me, but hey, you never know. You never know. Copley 8-1 heading to non-conference game Bedford at 5-4. This is an interesting matchup.
Yeah,
I think.
I agree.
I was tempted to make it my spotlight game, but because it was a non-conference game, I wanted to keep it in conference. But definitely Copley looking maybe to improve their playoff standing and maybe get into that realm and maybe keep that home playoff game, because I think right now they're at 4th in the D2 Region 3, right? Okay. And then my spotlight game is Highland at 6-3, 5-1. Again, shooting for a share of the American division against Kent Roosevelt and Christian Melman, our MVP this week. That, to me, I think is probably your best game, given the amount of offense, a pretty good offense in Kent Roosevelt going against a really stout defense over the last couple weeks. Looking forward to that game. And again, Kent Roosevelt mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, but can they play spoiler? Maybe knock Highland out of the playoffs, possibly.
Oof.
They're sitting at 6th in the division right now, so Highland needs to focus in and win this game just to ensure themselves, because you never want to leave it into someone else's hands. And Kent Roosevelt may be looking to play spoiler. So watch this game here as Highland travels to Kent Roosevelt. Ed, what do you got on tap for the national game?
All right, well, we got a nice 4-game lineup here. Macedonia Nordonia is going to host Wadsworth. That's a 6-3 Nordonia hosting a 3-6 Wadsworth. Nordonia does need this. They are sitting 8th right now in Division 2, Region 3. So a win here would greatly improve their chances. North Royalton, they are 3-6. They're going to travel to undefeated Stowe. I don't see good things happening for the Bears in this one. Stowe is going to likely tune up for a home game in the Division 1 Region 1 playoffs the following week. I'm gonna do co-spotlight games of the week.
Ooh.
All right.
2 for 1 special.
Look at that.
And the reason why I'm doing 2 is because one game does involve 2 winless teams, much like what's going on in the Southwestern Conference. Twinsburg 0-9. They're going to travel to Cuyahoga Falls 0-9. I want to keep a particular eye on this game. Once again, kind of the same effect of what Rob's talking. Rob's saying these are teams that have been battling all year. Things just haven't gone their way, and I think we want to. I want to make sure I focus on them a little bit. The other game that I want to make sure I focus on is a potential playoff-breaking game for Brecksville Broadview Heights. They will travel to Hudson to take on the Explorers. Brecksville is 11th in Division 2, Region 3. This is a big win. If they can get Hudson, they might be able to sneak into that top 8 there. Maybe dislodge Nordonia from that spot and jump in there. But both these teams are 7-2. The difference is Hudson has better victories over quality opponents. Brecksville has yet to beat a team that has more than 3 wins on the year. So that is spotlight game of the week for the Suburban League National Division.
All right. Thanks, Ed. And now let's go over some of the standings and some of the rankings for the teams as we'll head to the Greater Cleveland Conference. Josh, what's the standings look like over there? We kind of talked about it a little bit, but there's also some teams that are on the edge of the playoffs here.
Yeah, we have, if you're just looking at the conference, we have 3 teams up top, all at 7-2, 5-1 in the conference. That's Menor, Euclid, Solon. Then you have Brunswick coming up in the middle, 3-6 overall, 3-3 in the conference. Elyria, Strongsville, Medina, all 2-4 in the conference. Elyria does have a 5-4 record. Strongsville, Medina are 4-5, and then you have Shaker Heights rounding out the conference at 3-6, 0-6 in the conference. But as far as playoff rankings go, I did kind of mention it earlier. We did have a jump, actually, in the rankings as far as GCC. Now, these are unofficial. These are according to joeitel.com. But actually, Euclid jumped over Menor. Euclid is now 4th in Division 1, Region 1. Menor is 5th. Solon is 10th, which, to me, I thought that's a little low for them. I mean, they've had to have some quality wins. But at any rate, they are 10th. Elyria, like we mentioned, is 15th. The top 16 teams in Division 1 and Region 1 do make the playoffs. So those 4 teams would be in, according to joeitel.com. Next we have Strongsville, who is 18th. And then that is followed by Medina. And then Brunswick is 23rd. They took a huge drop in the rankings. Just a huge drop with that loss, which was actually kind of surprising to me. That every game for them, Brunswick needed to win. Obviously, that would, obviously help them with their playoff rankings. But a loss like that, they were 18th. Then they dropped down 5 spots to 23. Looks like they're not going to make it. And then rounding out again the conference is Shaker Heights at 25th in the region. So pretty much you're dead set going to have 3 teams from the GCC in the playoffs. Elyria needs to come with a victory to guarantee their spot. They do control their own destiny. However, if they do lose, that could be really bad for them. They may not make the playoffs if they do lose. So this is a must-win, in my opinion, for the Elyria Pioneers.
All right, some teams fighting to make the playoffs. Elyria can do it, though. We'll see what happens. All right, we'll head to the Southwestern Conference, and kind of the same. We look in every conference, and Midview 9-0, 8-0 in conference. Avon in second place, 8-1, 7-1. Then North Ridgeville at 7-2, 6-2. Then you have Olmsted Falls and Berea Mid-Park at 6-3 overall, 5-3 in conference. North Olmsted at 5-4, 4-4. Avon Lake at 3-6, 3-5, and then Westlake at 2-7, 2-6, and then Amherst and Lakewood rounded out at 0-9, 0-8. And when you look at the regions, they're in Division II, Region 4. Most of these teams, Midview at number 2, Avon at number 3, North Ridgeville and Olmsted Falls. And you know what? Actually, Ridgeville and Olmsted Falls need to win this coming up week to make it in the playoffs. North Ridgeville is 7th and Olmsted Falls at 8, and the top 8 make it. So Ridgeville and Olmsted Falls must win, and North Ridgeville has a tough task against Midview, and Olmsted Falls has a home game that they're going to need to win. So tough games coming up there. You look at Berea Mid-Park, they're actually in D1 Region 1. They're right now in 14th, so the top 16 teams make it in there, and they have a chance to hopefully make it in the playoffs. They're going to need to win, though. They travel to Westlake, and as far as Olmsted Falls, they take on an Avon team. So Olmsted Falls and North Ridgeville, 2 of the top teams in conference, is who they're playing. And if they win, they'll probably get points, and both will probably make it. If they lose, they could drop out. So we'll have to wait and see. And North Olmsted, Avon Lake, Westlake, Amherst, and Lakewood all are eliminated from playoff contention. So that's what it looks like in the Southwestern Conference. Now Ridgeville and Olmsted Falls, you need to get win, guys.
See, I'm looking at the Joe Itel, and I'm thinking, let's say, I mean, obviously North Ridgeville has to go in and play basically Midview, who's been steamrolling everybody they play.
Yeah.
I mean, they're number 2 in that particular region. You can make a very good case. I mean, they're a fraction of points away from being number 1 from Perrysburg. But I think if both of those teams go in there, and even if they were to lose,
there's still a chance. But I think you want to play the safe route.
I mean, obviously, let's say North Ridgeville loses, Olmsted Falls wins, and I think below them is St. John's Jesuit out of Toledo. If they win, then yeah, you're looking at probably. But I don't know if both of those teams get eliminated this week. I think it's going to be a split. Now, if they both win, that's huge computer points because then they're beating people within the division.
Well, then they're for sure probably.
You know what I mean? But obviously, that's the best case scenario, and I think if I'm looking at it, I think there's a good possibility that, the way that it's set up now could be the way it's looking come next Friday.
And it could stay the same. I just think with a loss, you're putting a lot of pressure on another team to either lose.
Right.
And, you don't want that situation. They could still make it in the playoffs even with a loss, but, it's going to be tough for both those teams playing a Midview and Avon team. But we'll see what happens. You never know. It's going to be fun to watch this coming up Week 10. But now let's head to the Suburban League, the American Division. Sean, what do we got in the standings there?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, really there's in the American Division, we got 3 teams. We got Aurora, Copley, and Highland that are still alive in the playoffs at this point, with Barberton, who Ed pointed out a few minutes ago, is mathematically eliminated, along with Revere, Talmadge, and Kent Roosevelt. Those guys have played a good season, had some good wins, but unfortunately just didn't make the playoff run at this point. Now, looking at it, Aurora is currently number 1 in Division II, Region 3. They've clinched a home playoff game. All likelihood, they're probably going to stay at that number 1 spot unless they just have a massive loss this week and just get blown out, but I don't see that happening. Maybe Talmadge comes to play a little bit, but, Avon is kind of in a position now, even since that loss to Highland, they want to kind of get over that hump and they want to continue to hold serve and be the number 1 team in the division or in the region. Copley's currently sitting at 4, and I think they're gonna kind of they have an interesting matchup with Bedford this week. But again, it's I think they need that win to keep that 4 seed. If they lose, there's a possibility then they're on the road playing maybe sorry, I'm trying to figure out who they would play, but I mean you're looking at
Talking about
Copley.
Copley, they're sitting at 4 right now.
Yeah, I mean right now they're hosting a playoff game, but they could see if they lose could put them down into that 7, 8, maybe 6. It's depending upon if Nordonia wins or Maple Heights pulls one out or Chardon's right there too. It's close from 4 all the way down to 8. It's close. Maybe I think Copley goes in, handles business, and gets that home playoff game. And then you look at Highland. And Highland, like we said last week going into that game against Barberton, they needed a win to maintain their position, and they are
huge. They're in right now.
They're in the 6th position. Outside chance of possibly getting a home playoff game, but maybe looking more to improve their seeding a little bit. Maybe not having to go and play one of the top 3, hopefully in that division. But it's going to be tough. Highland needs to go in and just really take care of business. But I kind of get the feeling they're going to probably stay at that 6. Best case scenario, they go to 5. But they're probably going to be in that 6th position, and that's really the only 3 teams in the American division that are looking at playoffs beyond week 10 at this point. And I'm interested to see how it all shakes out. So I'll be one of the 8,000 people looking at Joe Itel, probably more than 8,000 at 11:35 after all the scores are in and seeing where everyone fared. But Ed, what do you got looking in for the national division?
Well, you got 2 solid playoff teams right now with Stowe and Hudson, I believe. I think even with a loss, Hudson can still get in. Nordonia right now is 8. They have a matchup against Wadsworth, and I think that a win over Wadsworth should probably keep around the 8th spot, possibly sneak into the 7th spot. But once again, it depends on what happens with other teams. Brecksville Broadview Heights is the wild card here. If they can find a way to take out Hudson, then they're going to make things very, very interesting in Division 2, Region 3. Hudson does control their own destiny, whereas Nordonia and Brecksville Broadview Heights do not. They need to win and get some help. Everyone else is eliminated. Wadsworth, North Royalton, Twinsburg, and Cuyahoga Falls. They are all playing their last game of the year. Getting ready for the next season. Stowe Monroe Falls, they're going to be playing a 3-6 North Royalton team, and it's going to pose probably what will amount to a glorified practice. With a win, I imagine that Stowe will clinch that playoff spot that they're looking for, and where I'm looking at them right now is they're probably going to drop no more than to the 7th spot, depending on what happens. But that's going to land them with a tough game. I mean, no matter what happens in Division 1, Region 1, you're going to be stuck with a player. Canton McKinley's sitting there at 11, Solon's sitting at 10, Austintown Fitch is at 13, Berea Mid-Park's at 14. So I mean, right now if the season ended, Berea Mid-Park would be traveling to Stowe and playing in the first round.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
So that's Stowe's proven to be a very, very good team in this division. And everything that they've gotten, they rightfully deserve it. But we're going to see what Stowe can really bring to the table once the playoffs starts, because they're not going to have an easy out at all in the playoffs. Neither are these other teams for that matter. But Stowe is one of the 2 Division 1 teams in that division, and they're gonna come up against the big boys here, and we'll see where the chips fall for Jason Gobble, Kyle Van Treese, and Joanne Dracy for the Stowe Bulldogs.
So you think, even with a win, Stowe still falls out of the top 8? And
no,
it doesn't get a home game.
Or? No. I didn't know. They'll at least they'll probably drop to 7, which means they
even
still
with a win, just because Mentor and Euclid have more computer points than you think, or
yes,
okay,
yes. I mean, and Euclid and Mentor, I think they're both going to win their respective matchups this week. Olentangy, they should be. That's going to be a tough game that they have coming up, I believe. Who they are playing, Delaware Hayes. Not too familiar with that area down there, but I'm just saying it's a possibility that Stowe could drop down to the 7th spot. I don't think I think they're going to settle somewhere where they are now in the 7th, maybe like the 5th spot.
Like you said, though, that's almost crazy how good some of the teams did this season.
A 10-0 team is at 7. You know what I mean? Like
that's unbelievable, really.
To think about that. Whereas, but again, it all comes back to who have you played. And, unfortunately, Stowe, like you mentioned, Stowe's been playing Division II opponents, and unfortunately, teams like Euclid and Menor have been playing teams like Berea Mid-Park and all Division I teams, and those are computer points and those wins. While I get it, it's tough to say, oh, you're the 7th best team in the region at 10-0. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Look at the same thing. Look at St. Ignatius, for example. I mean, they still control their own destiny. They're 20th at 5-3.
Yeah.
They beat St. Ed's. They're going to jump up into the playoffs right there.
And
from the 20 spot. I mean, they can jump. Right now, they're at 11 points. They're going to climb up 8 points, 8 computer points, which is a really significant jump. If they can win this game,
and you mentioned that's another classic rivalry game. I mean, they call it the Holy War for a reason. So, that's I know we don't cover those two teams a lot, but obviously with what's going on in Northeast Ohio sports, those are one of the most famous rivalries.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's definitely going to be Saturday night, correct? They're playing.
It
Saturday?
Usually is
Saturday night or Saturday during the day.
Yeah, one of the two.
It's the same day as Canton, McKinley, and Massillon for that matter.
It's usually at night, but who knows?
But you're right.
I mean, a good game.
Say Ignatius comes in there, pulls the upset, they're jumping. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of computer points they get, and then they can make a case for being in the playoffs, and definitely a lot of things can change. That's what's fun about this week is it kind of cements everything, and kind of sets the tone for going to the playoffs. And again, you see those teams that are the perennial top teams, Aurora, St. Ed's, Hudson, all Avon. They've been good all year, but sometimes it's not about how good you were all year. It's who's the hottest team coming into a playoff run, who's clicking on all cylinders. I mean, this is where a lot of teams who may have kind of been lurking around, like a Berea Mid-Park or North Ridgeville, like you said, they get Demario McCall back, and all of a sudden that's definitely a strength that they have. I mean, they're able to sneak into the playoffs without him. All of a sudden, he's healthy for the playoff run, and now you got to deal with him, and he's a force to deal with. I mean, he's not going to Ohio State because he's good looking. He's a good football player.
Well, and I wondered with the Southwestern Conference, they only have one non-conference game. I wondered if that, I was interested to see this year if it would hurt them when it came to playoffs. But obviously, Midview and Avon are top in that region. I believe 2 and 3. I said so. It's pretty fun to watch. A lot of teams, they'll have possibly 4 teams in, but it didn't hurt them. And really, you look at it from top to bottom, a lot of teams had some pretty good records. So it'll be fun to watch Week 10, and we'll come back stronger as ever to give you the recap on Week 10 and see which teams ended up making the playoffs and which didn't. And we want to remind everybody, head up to Z's Cream and Bean on Monday, as we'll have the Buckeye Bucks will be joining us. Head coach Mark Pinzoni and possibly some players will be headed up there. We'll talk some high school sports, give our recaps, and Sean Duffy has an announcement.
I wanted to give a shout out to we talked about
how we doing here? How we doing?
We're sitting at 7, but we control our own destiny. Got a big game coming up against Trotwood Madison, who's a pretty good Division III team. I think Butler takes care of business. They're in the playoffs, and they're probably going to be traveling to Cincinnati playing Turpin, or best case scenario, maybe going playing Miamisburg. Short of a drive, but definitely a good team. So shout out to the Aviators.
Good luck to the Aviators.
Yes, sir. Coach Bush and all those guys taking care of business out there.
That's right. We'll see how they do Week 10. All right, we want to thank everyone for listening to Sports on Tap, partnering with the NEO Sports Insiders Network, presented by RT Productions. Thanks to Z's Cream and Bean for presenting the conference MVPs. And, guys, great Week 9. We'll head into Week 10, the final game of the season.
Rivalry week.
Rivalry week. Yeah.
Know it.
All right, for Ed Dick, Sean Duffy, Josh Jeffy, I'm Rob Troutman. Everyone, good luck on your last game of the season. See you, everyone. Have a good week.
For the best coverage of Cavs, Indians, and Browns, check out NEOSportsInsiders.com. NEOSportsInsiders.com brings you breaking news, opinions, and video from all things related to your favorite Cleveland sports teams. Like us on Facebook and follow at NEO Sports Insiders on Twitter for live updates from all the games. NEOSportsInsiders.com, bringing you the best in Northeast Ohio sports coverage.
Join Sports on Tap the first Thursday of every month at Z's Cream and Bean, 2706 Boston Road in Hinckley, Ohio, as Sports on Tap talks local Ohio high school sports, Cleveland sports, and national sports topics. It's all happening at Z's Cream and Bean the first Thursday of every month starting at 7:30 p.m. Join us. You're listening to Sports on Tap's Ohio High School football coverage live on Mixlr. Live streaming every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Remember to check us out on Twitter at SOT Podcast and use the hashtag SOTHSF to post score, stats, and pictures from all your high school football games. Like us on Facebook and listen to all of our archive shows on iTunes, YouTube, and Podomatic. Again, our coverage starts every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. We're Sports on Tap.